Māna otia a matariki kia koutou, e te whānau oti rā kia koe, e te parata, te wehi nau mai hoki mai, ki tēnei, whare kōrero o tātou kia nei, ko planting seeds, nōku, te marina nui oti rā, no ngā kai whakarongo o tēnei kaupapa, no rātou hoki te waimarie, no rere te parata, kei te pēhea koe mā bro.
Tēnā koe brother. E piki ana te ora i tēnei wā mā bro. I tēnei wahanga, i tēnei peka o te tau, peka o te tau. Ka tai hono ka hoki mai Hawaii no reira, kai te tino rongo i te makariri brother. Me kau au e rukahu, Hei roto i ngā wiki kua hori o kua tino rongo au te makariri, ko pāngia ki te mate refa, wera atu ahuatanga katoa engari. E piki ana te ora i tēnei rā, i tēnei wā i taku. Ki te ngā tura i ako i tēnei rā, mā bro.
Tēnā rawa atu koe, my brother, pai te rongo i rā ahuatanga. Bro, it's good to have you sitting across from me. We've recorded in the past, but I think just us having this space where it's just you and I to have this kōrero, I'm really looking forward to the nature of what comes up because, you know, you do have a reputation of being at the forefront in toi Māori, whether it's moko, whether it's kapahaka, whether it's te reo Māori, and it's just, really great to have someone like you be an example for someone like myself. But for those who aren't too familiar with yourself, e hoa, are you able just to give a little bit of background, kōwai koe, no hea koe?
Kapa, kia ora tātou. Koe hau ko Te Wehi Preston tōku ingoa. I grew up in a tiny little country town called Ruatoki, in between there and Hamilton. Waimaria nei au. I think a lot of the kids that were my age grew up with our nene and our kōrero back then. And our parents were fortunate enough to go out and mahi and see what the big wide world had to offer. And so I grew up in between. I was quite fortunate in the fact that I grew up with my nene and my koro, but also got to go back and forwards to my mum in Kirikiriroa at the time. And so I did a lot of my schooling in between Kirikiriroa and Ruatoki, back and forwards. Did primary school, started off at Ruatoki and then did a lot of my primary and intermediate and started off high school in Kirikiriroa. And then I come back to Te Wharekurua Ruatoki where I finished my later years. And so in terms of my schooling and that it's been between both and very fortunate in those years because I had a lot of great influences and a lot of great teachers at the time who helped shape and mold me into the young man that I am.
And when we think about that, bro, you know, like there's the upbringing, is there any key moments or experiences or when you think about that to think about where you are now, is there anything that stands out, bro, like lessons or experiences from either whānau or mentors or people that were around you at that time that have helped shape you into who you are now?
Yeah, definitely, brother. I was lucky, bro. I was when I was younger, so my karaua, Big John, they used to call him, or Puhirata Tepa. My karaua, he was a strong man. Kahaki te kōrero Māori. Whai kōrero, koe te kai kōrero ringai tō mātou marae i Ruatoki, Tawarau. And then my kuia, she was another strong role model in my life. Very stern wahine. She was a Virko. Ruiha Virko, who married my karaua and then became Ruiha Tepa. And so I was lucky when I was younger that I had two strong influences on my life and, taught us all the mokopuna, hard work ethic, te tēnei mea, te taonga, te taonga ngā hua o te reo Māori, te ao Māori, tirohanga Māori, both were gardeners, engari, i kōrero Māori, I roto, koera te reo matua, I roto I tō mātou whare, o te reo Māori. And very rarely did they sort of break out into English. And it was only if someone didn't understand or if they were talking on the phone to a Pākehā, really. Otherwise, te reo Māori, te reo I kōrero he, I roto I tō mātou whare. And so having those influences and that grounding from a young age really helped set me up. And then as I got older, I met, bigger cousins, older cousins, that took me under their wings. So, for example, I was quite young when I met Hohua Mohi, who took me under his wing in terms of Māori artistry and toi Māori moko. And so I was still at intermediate when I first met Hohua.
Oh, right.
And so he at the time was studying at Waikato University, but he was drawing these cool things and drawing Goku with Moko and all these, drawing all these X-Men that had mataora and kauae at the time. And I just became really infatuated with this art form. And so that was actually the beginning of my chase or this pursuit of toi Māori.
Wow, but it started at home, I roto I te kāinga, because you probably wouldn't have known anything different, but you had that foundation of te reo Māori, tō ao Māori, and so was there even like a sense of feeling proud of being Māori, or was just, this is just Māori?
Yeah, I think, well, for us it was that we didn't know anything else. And the reason why I sort of, in the beginning, really touched on the fact that I went to kura in Hamilton was because in living in Ruatoki with my nana and my kuraua, going to the marae, that was normal. So seeing all these patterns and these designs on the marae, ko whai whai tukutuku, all those things, that's normal. And then I got shipped over to my mum in Hamilton, who was teaching at the time, was following her teaching tohu. And so arriving to Kirikiriroa, that was a whole nother world. Kare rongo I te reo Māori, e rere haere ana, kare kauaku hoa Māori, a kōrero Māori te rāwa. And so both my sister and I, we actually went to a kura night to normal school. And it was a Pākehā school, but it was the closest kura to us at the time. And so it helped, my mum could still go to uni and we could still just walk to kura. And we were very fortunate that at the time, one of the kaiako there, Koka Materoa Collins, and she's still there now in Te Hihiri. Te Hihiri, who just celebrated their 25th birthday. We were part of, which is the Māori language unit. But I was in ESOL at the time, which was English second language learning. And so a lot of my friends were actually all the Somalians and all the people that have the Croatians and what did we had, Yugoslavians. And so all of us were actually all sitting there learning English. So we had to, not only did we have to learn the mahi that was, being taught from 9 to 3, but after school you had to stay there till 5 to learn how to speak English.
What you're actually learning.
Yeah. Pono. And so for me that was, I think I was around 7, 8, 9 when we actually started learning how to speak English.
It's cool to sort of hear that, because there's a lot of people and friends and that have had te reo Māori from such a young age. It was their way of thinking, it was their way of speaking, it was their world, and they've gone on to be incredible people in terms of successful in what it is that they are doing. And then there's a lot of people who are like myself, or who are on their own journey of reclaiming, te reo Māori within them. And so having that foundation, is there a sense of gratitude, or what comes to mind, bro, when you just know that was your head start and this is just, where things have led for yourself?
Oh, I think a lot of it I actually took for granted, if I'm being really honest. I took my upbringing for granted because at the time, I didn't know anything else. So, I didn't know that my kuia and kōrero were tino taonga, and I didn't know. I thought that was normal, that everyone spoke te reo Māori, because it was just, pina koe mohiana ki a Ruatoki, it's still, e pēra tonu ana I tēnei te reo Māori is still the main language. Kai reira e re huri ana engari, but it's still there. And so all of us growing up, that was the way it was. And I think, for ones like myself, we really took it for granted. And if I'm being really honest, once I moved to Kirikiriroa, I became infatuated with the English language. And so learning new words, learning bigger words, learning how to read, that's where I became, that's where I started taking my te reo Māori for granted too.
Wow.
It was because I started just speaking English. Yeah. So I started speaking, we used to get wax for speaking English at home. And then I started speaking English to my mum, and then I think just over time just wore her down. So she just started accepting that we were speaking English. And for her, I think it was good for us, because it was, it was us gaining independence. We could go to the shop and ask for a lolly, or we could, we could catch the bus, and so she wouldn't have to worry about us not knowing how to spell the street or name or whatever.
And that's so just part of being young as well, the way, there's that sense of rebelling against authority in a sense, and you just sort of want to do your own thing,
Oh, totally, bro.
And so it sort of led to so many awesome experiences for yourself. And what I want to sort of like guide into is you've continued to be a learner of te reo Māori, you know, you've been part of panekiretanga, you know, and so what are you learning now, bro, being already matatau I roto I te reo, but is it actually a forever journey, bro, te reo Māori?
Yeah, yes, totally. Pono, yeah. Even that, bro, like I wouldn't even say matatau, like I would always say kai te ako tonu, like I ngā wākatoa kai te ako tonu, and he nui ngā mea kāri te mōhio, like kārenau te mōhio, ki ngā, like ki wetahi kupu, ki wetahi, i pehe te tui wetahi whakaaro, engari ko te reo kai au, he reo, I takea mai I au e pakike mai ana. And so learning grammar, learning all those things, he mea hou tērā ki aha, because kāri pērā I te kāinga, and nui ngā hapa, nui ngā is he, mā te wairua noa, o kōrero e tuku, you know, and so a lot of the stuff that I might say sometimes is actually grammatically wrong, but it's how I say it, or the things that I've learnt that how, like if you put conviction into it, kai te tika I te mea, kai te ahu o te wairua, I a koe kōrero ana o tō tuku o tō whakatakoto I te kupurane, all those sorts of things. And so for me, there's still a lot that I really need to learn, and I'm grateful that every day, you know, I see it as a day to learn something new. Our koro always said something, our koro mitamoi always said something, every day is a great day to learn, right? From the day you're born to the day you die. Then I said, what do you learn on the day you die? And he goes, you learn how to die.
Oh, that's just such beautiful whakaaro in a way of being, is just remaining a student never, you know, you never really sort of get to a point where you know it all. That's when you don't know it all.
That's when you're just a knuckle.
And so you just mentioned as well, bro, you just got back from Hawaii, you know, it's FestPac, and I was enjoying all of the content that was coming out, and what I saw was just a display of culture. I saw a display of our people, I saw a display of our whanaunga within the Polynesian islands, and so, you know, talk to us about how that was, bro, and, you know, what's the beauty within FestPac and why is it important?
Bro, so I've been very fortunate for the last couple of years to attend the last 3 FestPacs. So FestPac, what is FestPac? Ko FestPac te tahi o ngā hui ngā nui o te moa nunui akiwa. It's probably the biggest, and it's a festival that brings together all the nations of the Pacific. And it's held every 4 years, and due to COVID it was held every, it was 8 years ago, so they skipped one of the years. And we were very fortunate. I was very fortunate back in I think it was 11 or 12, to go alongside Te Mataora. I was invited to go alongside Te Mataora I Orehu at that time, and that was on the Solomon Islands. And I loved it. Then. And then 2016, I was part of Te Whānau Hapanui, so we were fortunate enough to go and represent Aotearoa once again in Guam, or Guahan. Ngā chamoros o taua wāhira, te ingoa tika ko Guahan. Yeah, engari Americana, Pākehā, Guam. But so that was where the last one was in 2016, and then we were fortunate enough this time, Te Whānau Hapanui was lucky enough this time again to be able to go over and represent Aotearoa once again over in Hawaii. And so over the duration of 10 days, I think the whole festival, that's the duration of the festival, it's huge, thousands of people. And it's a showcase of culture, it's a showcase of arts, dance, music, and all the best that all these islands throughout the Pacific have to offer. And one of the biggest things that I think going to FestPac, what it actually does is it shows you how small we are as Te Wehi Māori in this big ocean, you know, with all our other brothers and sisters, all the other different islands that are there. E kōrero ana I tō rātou reo, e whakangahau ana, e mahi ana, whakatuata ana I ngā mahi raka, you know, showcasing everything that there is about their culture. And one of the things I think that we do as Te Wehi Māori, even though we showcase our culture every day, I think one of the biggest things that we can learn from our brothers and sisters of the Pacific is how they actually implement it and how they live it, where they are.
It's not just displayed.
It's not lived. A performance, koina.
Yeah, wow.
Koina. And so one of the biggest things I came away from this festival is feeling really appreciative, of the things that we do have here in Te Ao Māori, like kai te ora tonu te reo, kai te ora tonu ngā te tikanga, wera momo a huatanga, mātauranga, wera momo a huatanga kai te ora. But I think as a iwi, we need to do better. We need to do a lot more in terms of reading about ourselves, learning our kōrero, in and around our maunga, in and around our whenua, and getting to really understand and know who we are.
Wow.
Because one of the things I think that I saw from this one is the humbleness of all the other Pacific nations that have far less than what we have here in Aotearoa. But yet, when it came to the performance or to the shows, I think that they they were a cut above all the other nations. I honestly, personally think that they were all a cut above.
Is it because of they live it, or was it because of the humility that you felt, or what was it about their performance that sort of gives you that whakaaro?
Yeah, I think all of that. Like, they live it, they breathe it. It wasn't a showcase. Mm-hmm. They were truly being their authentic selves. Yarato e tuana, yarato e kōrero ana. And, the little English that they did know, they use. But otherwise, ho pūmau, ki tō rātou reo, rātou ake reo. And, they walked around proud. FestPac is one of those festivals where everyone walks around in their regalia and their kākahu, proudly.
Wow.
Mau nei o rātou pōtai, me ngā manu katoa o te ao, wearing all their indigenous kākahu clothing that their tipuna wore, and proudly too. And you see them just walking around, wetahi, kāre nei te mau kākahu, kāre nei te mau kakaharane, but they're just proud, And so, you're sitting next to all these people at lunchtime, and we sat with the Papua New Guineans one day, and they just kai te mau, maro noi hone, and they're painted head to toe with beautiful headpieces representing all the different manu of the islands, feather from every manu that exists in their forests. And
so it feels like a celebration of your culture, of your authenticity as a culture, where you can go in and just be like, wow, this is just who I am, this is who we are in a sense, eh?
Or even with the Yamato and Noho Tahiana ki te kai, like this is what I mean by being authentic to themselves. They couldn't even digest the kai that we were being fed because they were not used to it. Like, nui te huka, nui te tote, and they're used to just eating natural, straight from the bush, straight from the tree, like te rā momo a huatanga. So they're used to really eating plant-based kai or kai from the whenua. Natural kai.
In the environment. Wow.
And so one of the kaua that we were sitting with, it was actually like hard watching him eat because he would like almost like tatarua ki a kaua. He was like holding his nose and everything.
But he didn't want to be rude, eh?
Yeah, but he didn't want to be rude. Yeah.
Are there similarities, bro, within, I guess, that kind of, whether it's tikanga or way of, I guess, showing respect? Is there similarities within that?
So many similarities. Like, you realise that you are part of something bigger because our reo, our tikanga, the way we do things, culture respects culture and culture knows culture. And so when you sit with people who are culturally, that way inclined, it's about respect, it's about aroha, it's about manakitanga, it's about sharing whakaaro, sharing a meal, but also it's about creating that deeper understanding with one another that we are in some way, shape or form related, or we are on a wavelength. And once upon a time, our tipuna, your ancestors, my ancestors, even though we're from different parts we migrated to different parts of the world, once upon a time, our tipuna sat together, ate together, and had this kōrero, had this whakaaro, because our reos are similar, our whakaaro are similar, our tikanga are too similar. Mātāpono katoa, they're all too similar to say that we don't have, that kind of a connection. And, like, when you go to FestPac, you realise that ko te moana nui a kiwa te mea e tui nei a tātou katoa. So it's not the ocean isn't what separates us, it's actually what binds us all together. And there's so many different islands like Chuk, Yap, Pohnpei.
And are these like individual islands?
All these individual little tiny islands.
Because you only really hear about Samoa, Tonga, Aotearoa.
So it's only close to all these little islands. But then when you get to the Micronesian, Melanesian islands, even Taiwan was part of this year's delegations.
Far out.
And there iwi take. And so when you go to the festival, you get to see all their different dances and all their different. Well, I wouldn't say they're different because e waiata ana mō rātou ake nei, e waiata nei roto i tō rātou reo, mō rātou tipuna, ngā tūtohu whenua, wera momo ahuatanga katoa. And we all doing the same thing. But I think it's the rhythms and the sounds and that we make that actually, those are the different things. But the stories that are being told are all the same.
All the same.
Yeah.
But the way that it's being told is different.
Koina.
And that's pretty cool though, because you can go one day and you're hearing this, you're experiencing this motu, or then you go into the next one and you're like, far out. It's feels like a platter of awesomeness in a sense, bro.
Bro, and whakapono nui ana, bro. Like, we don't really use drums in that in kapa haka, not too much, but I'm sure we had drums, bro, because every nation has drums. And so I'm sure we had drums somewhere along the way. We might have threw them off the waka because they were too heavy. But every nation has drums except us. Well, we took over drums this time to Avenue. We took over drums and implemented them in our performance, just because I wanted us to have a drum.
And how was kapa haka received over there? How was that sort of like received from our whanaunga and all of that?
If I'm being really honest, it's always a big draw card, bro. We kapa haka, I think it's just been a long, and I do pay respects to all our kapa before us, and our aunties and uncles and kui and kōrero that have gone overseas and have done this for over years. And so kapa haka, no matter where you go in the world, has actually been well received. Everyone knows the haka because of the All Blacks and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, they really appreciate that in kapa haka you use absolutely every part of your tinana to tell the story. We're probably the only nation that uses every part of our tinana, from your toes to your hair. To your eyes, to your tongue, to your voice, everything. Hands, actions, we use absolutely every part of our tinana to tell our stories. And that's ua tera. And so audiences are always captivated or they love the singing, and they love the haka, and they love poi, all those sorts of things. And I think over the years we've been fortunate enough that we've our aunties and uncles have created a template or left us a template to be able to showcase and to make it palatable and entertaining and fun and for viewers, for everyone who comes and watches kapa haka.
Man, that's so awesome, bro. And speaking about kapa haka, I remember the very first time that I would have seen you would have been what year do I want to say? It must have been like 2014 or something. It was back in regionals when I performed for Whakatane High School, and you were the leader of Ruatoki, and it was Pōtiki. And you came out back in the days, bro. No, it would have been way before that, actually, like 2008. And I remember you sort of like coming out in your flashy airs with your raka, and I was like, who's this fella? I hadn't seen you before, and I was just blown away just by how you were back then. And then you've just gone on to sort of, being apanui, travelling the world with kapa haka. And so, this is a pathway that you have been on for some time. And so the pātai is like, what are the highs about kapa haka, and then what are some lows around kapa haka?
Oh, bro, I'll be honest, there's heaps of highs, way more highs than lows. And I've been very fortunate over the years, bro, to have some awesome influences. But I think one of the biggest things is that what kapa haka teaches you is, discipline. Teaches you how to stay committed. Teaches you, plus all the kōrero that goes. That's actually what I love, is the kōrero and the waiata and all that kind of stuff.
Because it's always going to be connected to the rohe that you're performing for. Whether you're performing for, ruatoki, it's kōrero pertaining to that rohe, or apanui pertaining to that rohe.
Yeah, and that's actually what I really love, is the listening to the kōrero side of things. How and in recent years, been lucky enough to have sat with Uncle Rikirangi and Hone in Te Whānau Apanui, and how they watching how Uncle Rick writes his kōrero, but also cleverly ties it into something political that's happening, but also makes it quirky, and also makes it upbeat, fun, and makes it exciting, but also cleverly uses the tipuna that directly tie Te Whānau Apanui to the kaupapa rohe place. And that's the stuff that I love, is that magical space. But I've also been fortunate enough to watch Wetini do it as well. Dan Vaka, Hoga Mohi, and Manti Turuhira Hare. And in the earlier days, obviously, we were very fortunate too to have Poirangi Hau, and he was magical. But all these people that I've had in my corner over the years, or have taught me a lot, I owe it to them. So every time I go out and perform, or every time I go and do something, or part of a kaupapa, I think of them. I channel them. And then in recent years, I've been lucky enough to have sat with James Webster, those other creatives, so creators from different kapa. And I was very fortunate a few years ago. I was working it's called Te Pātū now, but it used to be called Haka Teachers. And at the time, there was a group of us, and we all performed for different kapa. And
they came together.
Yeah, but every night we performed this performance and entertained the tourists. But everyone that performed in this kapahaka group, we all performed for groups like Tuhaurangi, Ngāti Rangiwihi, Te Mataora, Rātana, even some from other groups up north, and Wakahuia. And then, but would all break off and in the weekends would go to our practices for matatini, and then would come back together, and would all just have a big fat laugh and talk about brackets and talk about things that happened in the weekend, and then would all perform Monday to Friday with each other, and push each other, and then after that would go back to practices. And so it was actually at Tāmaki Tours for me that I learned to hone my craft in terms of making kapahaka palatable, and making it fun, and making it engaging.
Well, if you're doing it every day, Monday to Friday, you're having to, you can't not get better, right?
Yes, exactly. And one of the things too is learning all the different cultures that come through. And so for us, when we go overseas, when we take up haka overseas, we tap into the experience that we've had with Tāmaki Tours, or with performing concerts, and we take that mātauranga and use that overseas. And that's because the last thing you want people to remember is how involved or how engaged they were. Something that they learnt. They learnt how to say kia ora. They learnt about the poi. They learnt that the haka wasn't just an angry dance, but then they participated in the haka. And then they learnt that, our people were able to pull it back, and we could sing sweetly and tell stories of
more
love.
Than just the haka, more than just kamate, it's actually creating more of who we are as a people, ne?
That's it, bro. That's exactly it. And so for us, every time we perform overseas, that's what we want. That's the last impression that we want, is to leave the people absolutely,
amazed
and enchanted, but also knowing that they've learned something about Te Wehi Māori and where we come from.
I reckon it's cool that, it takes you, across the world. And is that the same in your journey with, moko? Is there, how does everything sort of feels like it interweaves quite nicely for you? Everything is within Te Ao Māori, everything is within Māori performing arts, everything is within the arts. And so what is your journey within moko, bro? And you've just recently done Moko Ora. Were you able to, create an awesome symposium or wānanga, whether it's for moko artists, or whether it's for people who are just interested in moko, and you had all of the OGs, or the majority of them there as a way to whakamana and mihi to them. And so, when you think about your moko journey, did it start from, hohua mohi, seeing those pictures, being infatuated by toi Māori? So bro, kea koe te wā, when it comes to moko, what comes to mind, bro?
Yeah, bro. I'll back to same thing, bro. Definitely wouldn't say I'm a master, but I'm just a real. I love learning, and I love being a student of learning, and I love being inspired, And so one of the biggest things for me as a young fella, I loved drawing, and I really loved looking at old books and looking at all those old moko books and being inspired. Because I'll be honest, my nene and kōrero, were in my world. They weren't too supportive of the arts because they grew up in a different generation. And so, my nan, she was hard out, just finish school, go to, get good grades, go to the kōrero mill, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then work your way up the chain, and then, one day could run the kōrero mill, and, that's success in her eyes. And so, the idea of me trying to be an artist and I know it sort of really broke her at the time because she wasn't, she didn't have the same dreams as what I had because two different eras. And so, her whakaaro of successes, work hard, break your back, and that's how all my uncles are, and it's beautiful. I love it, but it just wasn't me. It wasn't what I loved doing. I loved drawing. I loved listening to kōrero and trying to interpret it into koru and puhoro, all these sorts of things that were sort of not foreign to my name, but didn't really interest you. And so she tried to deter me off this journey for the last part of my schooling years. And even to a point where I got this karahipi to go to this kura and do something different and follow media. But I turned it down because I wanted to go and do moko. With hōhua. Yeah. And at the time I was going to hōhuas every holidays to just do what I'm still doing now, lie around doing nothing. Watch cartoons, watch anime. We're literally still doing exactly what we were doing 20 years ago. But this time when we get it serious, we're a little bit more serious. But we still literally have a lot of fun, and that's actually what drew me to art, was this that Hōhua showed me that it can be really, really fun if you apply yourself. So I applied myself 1,000% and learnt about moko and read every book that I could, learnt about all the different artists, because there were only a handful of artists at the time. Nāwai over the years, and then we've grown, we've been to different, we've been to art shows all around the world, not just in Aotearoa, and then now we're doing, different kaupapa in and around moko, rani wānanga, but also doing, moko papa, and then this year we were fortunate enough, 4 years ago we started up a kaupapa called Moko Ora, and it was a way of bringing artists together, learning emerging artists, but also ones that have been doing it for a long time.
Was that to equip emerging artists with the mataora and the kōrero, rather than just having the skill to do moko? Was it actually bringing in the mataora aspect of things, or was it a variety of it all?
It was at the time we saw that there was a lot of moko, new artists, because it was as simple as going on Trade Me, buying $20 tattoo kit, and away you go. And that's what's been happening over the last, however many years, and then getting paid, $20 or whatever to do something, and then away you go. But it actually was, it was degrading the art form. And so for us, it was about creating a wānanga or a space where, if they're going to do it, well, they might as well do it with a bit of mataora behind them. So for us, it was about creating a wānanga where we could help guide, or steer them in the right direction, but also get moko artists that are practitioners, because it was only practitioners at the time, to come together, sit noho wānanga and kōrero, and really look at the not so much the application side of things, because that's kai te pai kai te ora te rata. It's like looking at how ngā mātāpono te kōrero, how ngā mātāpono kairoto i te paki waitara o mataora rao ko niwareka, like the origins of moko, like looking at the principles and the values that come from the story, the origins, and how are we keeping that side of things alive? How are we,
holding the integrity of the kōrero,
and how are we applying those things into our everyday lives? Because it's more than just skin deep, and literally ki te he iākoe o mahi he tangata te utu. So if if you have a mishap, or if you do something wrong, it could be fatal. And so for us, it's about educating those people, or educating our artists, our new artists, to actually seriously think about what they're doing and what they're applying, because that's what's being sent out to the world. And so they become your walking canvas. If they're good, oh, well, kapai, those are yours, your name's on it. But if they're bad, oh, well, that's your name's on it as well, you know. And so...
he hoa matenga mau bro, you know, ko tērā te moko.
And whakaaro Māori e mea kai te rawe ki koe I te toto o te tagata. Ki te rawe ki koe I te toto, kai te rawe ki koe I te whakapapa. He mea tapu tērā. And so it's about making sure that, you know, culturally that they are aware of the bigger picture.
And that's so important, I feel, you know. There's one thing doing something, but then what gives it sustenance is the reason why you do it, eh? That's the mātauranga side of things, and it just sort of gives you more security, but it also creates more of a safe passage for the people who's receiving that art ne or their taonga.
And I think that's where we've turned to realise, like, over the last 3 years we've been holding wānanga for practitioners, then we opened it up to kaiwhiwhi as well, or people who are interested in moko. But I think now we're starting to do a 360 and go, actually, I think who we need to really educate are the receivers. Because, you know, our receivers are the ones that get caught out sometimes, or who, because there's just not enough information about it.
Yeah, right.
And so for us, it's about educating our people into having a more critical lens when they're looking to receive moko, really having a good think about what they're getting done, and realising that, you know, if you want to get mataora or moko kauae, you know that it's on you forever. So and there are, you know, responsibilities in and around carrying that taonga. And there's a saying going around, you know, moko the world. I'll be honest, both Paul and I, we're non-believers of that kōrero, because we believe that, you know, moko's not for everyone. I'll be honest when I say that. There are some people in this world that do not deserve moko. Moko is a taonga. And if you don't understand it, or if you don't know what this taonga is, I don't think it's for you. Because it should be cared for, it should be looked after, it should be nurtured, it should be, you know, he taonga tuku iho tēne. And so... we have another kōrero we say of moko the worthy.
Ooh, moko the worthy.
So our one's moko those that are worthy, moko those that have taken time out to really look and understand and rangahau, you know, what they wanting to receive. And rangahau in terms of the artist, rangahau in terms of the kōrero that they want it to represent. Because I always say moko's a living, breathing art form. And what I mean by that is that all these patterns and all these designs, when aesthetically put together, they make a, you know, they make a beautiful, beautiful taonga. They make a beautiful moko. But kare take o wera, whakaniko o wera tohu, pena kare kōrero, kare heaharane, oroto. So there's no use having all these beautiful motifs and things put together if it holds no kōrero.
No kōrero, right.
Kiri tuhi noho tērā. That's no different to just a tattoo off the wall in a tattoo shop. So ko te kōrero te mea matua. So making sure that that it has kōrero, that it holds the story that you want it to hold. Because all they are tipuna, because we had no written language, the way in which we would retain kōrero, whakapapa, you know, all these sorts of things, was through whakairo rākau, whakairo kōiwi, whakairo I te kiri tangata. And so it carve these stories or these genealogies into stone, bone, and skin.
And there were ways of capturing what was happening at that time, eh?
Koina.
Whether it was an event, whether it was something that had happened, these were ways of capturing that kōrero away, so it was a way to remember.
That's it, bro. So I tuhia ki te rākau, I tuhia ki te koiwi, I tuhia ki te toto. And so those were ways that they retained all this mātauranga that we have now, all these kōrero that we have now, these paki waitara. The only other way that it was shared was awaha, you know, through song, waiata, pātere haka aha turane. But the way that it was maintained and passed down through generations was through whakairo, was through, you know, was through
that's beautiful.
Taonga tuku iho, through tiki, through, you know, and then through moko was another way that our ancestors used, or another medium that they used to help tell our stories and
tell our stories.
Yeah.
And that's the way a culture lives, is by actually having these mediums to keep us in the know of who we actually are.
Koina, you know, and it moves and it evolves. Like, ane, te mahi ane koe, I tēnei we're podcasting now. Now that's another taonga that's used to help capture kōrero and capture those moments in time. Because it shifts and it moves, but the narratives, you know, that we capture for this time right now are very, very important. Because 100 years from now, this may be obsolete, But, you know, the kōrero and the reo that are captured, or the taonga, the tiki in there that are captured and made now, that 100 years from now, they will live on longer than us. And those will tell the stories of this day.
Yeah, but that's a main thing to think about, bro. The Papa Mākopua was sitting across from me recently, and we spoke about Moko Ora, and one of the things that came out of their kōrero, he was just proud rawa, he reckons. He reckons he was just so proud of that whole kaupapa and seeing where Moko is, and he shared his journey around how it was for him when he sort of got into the space, and just seeing where it is now, he just said he's really proud. So when you think about Moko Ora, when you think about the intention of it, and then you hear Papa Mark's kōrero, you know, like, how do you feel about that, bro?
I think they said something to us unbeknown, like a few years ago. We always seek, you know, counsel, seek advice from Uncle Mark, Uncle D. Ko rātou ngā tohunga o tēnei mahi. And at the time, I remember we kept asking Uncle for, Uncle, we got this kaupapa that we want to do. And I asked Uncle Mark and asked Uncle D. And at the time, it may have been hoha on our behalf, but they said something that sort of triggered us, and they said, hey, mahi au koutou mai. He said, but you fellas, you don't, well, he didn't say you don't need them, but he said, we fully trust in whatever you're going to do is going to be great. Do it. Because we used to ask them, can we have a wānanga for this? And they used to say, yeah, kai te pai. And then, but he said, hey, Uncle said, you fellas, ko koutou wā inaene. Ko koutou te hunga kai te kawe I te moko inaene. You fellas are the ones doing moko now. You do more moko in a day than I probably do in a month. That's what they said.
Sometimes you just need that reassurance, Te Wehi, bro. Yeah. And it's a way, again, coming back to, I guess, tikanga, respect. It's better to actually go down these pathways and being a hoha to being then told, okay, you know, me mahi a te mahi, rather than going to do it and then you go through the trials and tribulations of, man, should we have done it that way? You know, it's good to actually have that guidance there, bro.
And so I think for us too, that was the light switch that we, at the time, we were scared, but like, you know, I think retrospectively now, and that's a good thing to have, it was that it was time, you know, that we grew into ourselves and that we just carried on. Because Uncle was actually right. At the time, I think we were just more seeking assurance for ourselves more than anything. And they were, so, like, you know, they're saying, just do it. You fellas, you're already doing it anyway, do it. Hey, ko e tatari, ko e taihoa, your time is now. Our time was here, your fellas, anei te rama, carry on. Hey, carry the torch on.
That's
and
cool.
So for us, we're like, okay, well, we're going to put some gas on it. We just...
Man, that's so neat though, bro, to actually have that whakaaro, knowing that, you know, the art form is here, kei te ora te moko, but it's also better equipping, you know, those who are the ones either giving moko or those who are receiving, and that there's a gap that you fellas noticed, and the efforts that you guys are doing to fill it is being felt. And Moko Ora is just a way to see it visually, the amount of people that turned up, the kind of support that was there for it, whether it was people coming in, you know, who are receiving or who mau moko, or even just having, you know, the real toki of the space there to support it as well. So, you know, just want to mihi to that aspect of it, bro. And I just seen you just done one on Dan Waka recently, and, you know, you've been the kaita for a lot of mataora, a lot of moko kauae, and you have some real special things happen when that's happening, bro. You know, I've seen a video circulating of waiata, of haka. There's a celebration when whānau are receiving, I guess, their moko kanohi,
There's something happening at the moment, bro, and it's been happening for the last 10 years or so. It's that it's like a resurgence of our people in terms of reclamation, and in terms of whereby a lot of our people are claiming back mataora, claiming back moko kauae, and moko papa flourishing out throughout the rohe, throughout Aotearoa, and I've been very lucky to have been a part of a lot of first moko papa of various marae throughout the motu. And the biggest thing that I've seen, or the biggest thing that's happening at the moment is, people are being inspired to re-indigenize themselves, or to, to wear mataora, to wear moko kauae, as a way of honouring their tipuna, but also as a way of showing their mokopuna, or showing the next generations, that this was a taonga that was taken, and I tata tāmate, and it was nearly lost. But now, here we are in 2024, we want to make sure that the people, in this country recognise and realise that anei te iwi Māori e tū pakarine, e tū kahane, I roto tonu I tō rātou ake whenua. And so it's a way of reclaiming this taonga back, but also as a way of showing everybody that te iwi Māori is still alive, and you nearly, not quite, but succeeded in getting rid of us, but we're still here. And that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing throughout the motu happening at the moment, is a lot of our whānau reclaiming this taonga back as a way of empowering themselves as a niwi hapu whānau. And you only need to go down to Whangaparawa, or down the coast, to see that there's hardly anyone left down there. But they're doing it now. People are doing it as whānau, doing it as hapu iwi marae, using moko papa as a way of bringing whānau back to the marae, to help heal. Because of all things, I believe that moko's biggest power that it actually has is to heal, and it brings people back.
It's severing those connections, those connections were severed, and it's a way of mending them and healing them back to, as you said, connection back to self, connection back to our tipuna.
And for some, it's around getting rid of the trauma, that they had, and for some, it's about honouring a time, or even now, I think a lot of our tamariki, they are really, really onto it, this next generation that's coming. Hai te whiwhi moko kauae, hei whakanui, I tō rātou pōtaitanga, graduating, they're using moko kauae or mataora as a taonga to symbolise, or to mark that moment in time, to mark their significant event, that their graduation, or that they become a new, just received a new role in mahi.
Just a new stage in their journey, and the shedding of the old and embracing the new.
All of that, and so that's happening big time at the moment, and so we're inundated with tono, and it's really humbling. And I always say it's always humbling, and it's always an honour to be a part of anyone's moko kauae mataora journey.
And bro, I think it might be a great opportunity, because I have seen posts and things within the space around the utu, some people, you travel probably to different parts of the motu, and the koha aspect or the exchange might not be as reciprocal in some instances. And so, what does that look like, bro, in terms of how people can reciprocate this taonga in a more genuine way? How does that work, Because some people expect it for free, other people are really great at it. So what does that look like in regards to moko, bro?
That's always, money is always a hard thing to talk about, And it's not necessarily money, some of the greatest koha I've ever had wasn't money. But it's hard because we don't even as a people, we don't like talking about money or currency or even just koha in general, and it's hard to put numbers and then on things, but at the same time it's also harder to pay bills without any
Tika, bro.
And it's harder to get somewhere without any pūtea, and that's just the world that we live in. And earlier days, we used to get the old, I thought it was only a koha for this thing, and we said koha, but people's, it's hard to say koha because people's whakaaro on what koha is, it varies to, it's too hard to differentiate. People have different whakaaro on koha, and so, for some they think koha is just $20 or just a $5 or whatever, yet it cost you $120 to fill your car up
just to get there.
And it was a 3-hour drive, and then
time away from mahi,
time away
all
from,
of that.
And all of that stuff, And so it's hard to just say koha, and then one lady, for example, she said, I thought it was just a koha for this thing. And I said, well, back in the old days, a koha was a puhi, a koha was a waka, or a koha was a whare. The tā moko aras were actually well looked after and well in terms of the rankings, and that were well cared for and looked after as they were the storytellers, they were the story keepers, they were the whakapapa holders, they were, they played quite prominent roles within the hapu iwi
because they would also be part of like raising status too, because they would be the ones who would provide the art, whether it was moko kanohi or elsewhere, but it actually raised the mana of that particular person, whether it was a rangatira, right?
Absolutely, right. And so, and if you know how, like say for example, to get ink, to make ink, how hard it was way back then.
True.
Right, you couldn't just like nowadays, like just go to the shop, buy some ink, you had to go and collect. You had to go and collect all the different ingredients and then make it, and then let that sit, and then it would be right to once the ink was right, then you could use it, but it would only be used like once or twice, and then that was that, and then it would take months or a couple of days to make another batch, and then of course using the different bones and tools. It was a rigorous sort of process, and so it wasn't just I want this and we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Kapai, good. But our people don't realise that, nowadays it's our whakaaro on koha are so varied that you can't just put a koha on it, because you won't survive long in today's society, and the passion will go quickly. If you,
especially if you're worrying about bills or you're worrying about this, you actually can't focus on your mahi, because you're thinking about all of the other things that I guess are weighing you down. And
we've all been through it. Like we've been through it. And I think one of the funniest conversations we ever had, like we had a moko papa one time, and it was with a few of the old boys and like a few of the young ones, and we sort of got talking about this kaupapa, and we were like, it was like, what's the richest thing you've ever received?
Yeah, right.
And then like nothing was up there, but then there was some other funny ones too, and that's where we started like, oh well, hopefully we're learning or we're growing from this kaupapa. And I'm only talking like this conversation was only like last year. Wow. And so, and I think there's still a lot of work to be done. But the biggest thing I always say, like people still ask nowadays, like what's a koha for a mataora? What's something koha? And I said, they ask the artist how they name it, what's the utu for it, what's the price, and then you always want to give more. Like you want to give the price and then something and I'm not even speaking as Te Wehi the tāmoko artist. I'm speaking as Te Wehi the one day receiver. Like I would always take I'd say the price, and then I'll give more, but also I'll give another taonga, like give something, because that's a way of enhancing your mana, but also acknowledging the hard work and mahi and years that your kaitaha has put into the craft. And because kai whatever, that taonga is on your kanohi forever. So just because it's, and we always go back to that kōrero, cheap moko's not good and good moko's not cheap. And so, you got to remember that if you want a taonga that, that everyone looks at you and loves, and it's a tāhua.
And you want to feel good yourself, eh?
Yeah, well, you got to look at that every day. And so, you got to make sure that you're done your rangahau in terms of finding the correct artist, but also done your rangahau in terms of giving a koha that's, that reflects the mana of that artist, and your thankfulness and your gratitude for the hard mahi that artist has put into their craft, and into also making you, look beautiful.
Wow.
And holding that kōrero, because that's important, that it holds the kōrero that you, that you want it to.
That's awesome, bro. And like, the other thing that comes to mind is the significance in, there's pūhoro, there's moko kanohi, there's also, other parts of the tinana where you get moko. Is there, I'm not like, what's coming to mind, is there a hierarchy in like specialness and where you get it for the individual? Like
I think that in terms of hierarchy, there definitely is, like, tō kanohi, that's the ultimate. Ai ko te upoko te wā, hi tapu rawa atu o te tinana. And so your kanohi is like doing a moko kanohi or receiving your kanohi is the ultimate. Kia aune. I'm under the most stress and pressure when I'm doing a
moko kanohi,
a mataora or a kauae, both equally as stressful as the other. And so in terms of the hardest part as an artist, as a ringata. Those are the two hardest parts of the body to moko. Wera tu wahanga o te tirana, rei te mea pai noa, but there are other parts where you're favourites because you're in a better position to mahi. But in terms of the wahi tapu koto upoko.
Oh, true. Oh man, it's been interesting talking about all of this sort of stuff, but especially like the intricate parts of moko and, you know, hearing it from yourself and, you know, because you've had kōrero and you've been seeing a lot of things just because this is your world, bro. You know, you've been in te ao Māori, you're someone who just sort of sits at the rekereke of those who have the kōrero, so you get all of the mātauranga and you've been able to utilise the tools that you have, whether it's, you know, your fingers, your hands, your visual aspect, you know, your reo, whatever it may be, and you've been able to be someone really great in being able to provide this taonga, you know, for all of our people and for us. And so the other pātai, I suppose I wanted to come in, bro, I guess, finish our kōrero is that we're a part of a wānanga, and that wānanga was around gambling harm. And, you know, we went up to, where did we go?
Mauo.
No, it wasn't Mauo. It was up...
Oh, up in,
oh my God, it just slipped my mind. Waiheke. Yeah. And we went up to Waiheke, you know, and we were there and we sort of like spent some time and we're having a wānanga around gambling harm, and we're there for our own gifts, you know, you're there to sort of like create a tohu, but you're there to sort of offer kōrero. We had our bro Donnie, te kanapu there as well, who was there, who brought us basically in. And so when we think about that and, you know, the whole kaupapa that it was, what are some lessons that came out for you, bro, when you were there? And because we hadn't spoke, you don't really speak about this kaupapa. You don't speak about it at all. And we spoke about it for that whole weekend. You know, Donnie came picked me up. Oh no, I came over to Rotorua. He came picked us up from there, and we spoke about it the whole way up. And all of this kōrero come out. We're sharing experiences or friends.
We all see we don't know anything about it.
Next minute, all of this kōrero comes out, and so it definitely shaped a lot for me. But you know, what are some of the key things that come out for you?
That's that wānanga was actually really enlightening, bro. Hey? For want of a better word, I think it was because mainly, you know, we started off saying we don't know anything about it, and we didn't know anything about gambling. Marawake, hey, kahua mai ko te wānanga, and we knew a lot, and actually we knew a lot of people that were going through the struggles that we were just, like, you know, we were talking about it, and how, you know, the old domino effect, how it affects not only the close whānau, but also the wider whānau, tamariki, and the saddest part, I think, that really got me was that our Māori, like everything else, negative, you know, we featured quite highly in it. And that I think, for me, was the moment where I thought, geez, I need to speak to the ones that I know that have problems, but, you know, don't know how to approach or how to have their first conversation. That was the biggest thing, was how do we get people to talk about it? Yeah. And how do we normalise it? And I remember when I said, we should come up with this ad, and we was like, talk out.
Talk out.
And it came up with this whole scenario, and I said, Māori, like, we don't like talking about problems, and we don't like talking about just general, and we don't like talking about or confronting problems, or because it turns into a big argument, and because we don't want to admit it.
It's that confrontation.
That confrontation, and then that whakamā state that people get into, especially when you know you've got no money, or you spent the last 20 haka on you know, on the pokies. But I think it's time for our people to actually start unpacking all of those things. And if there's anything I could sort of, like a couple of my bros I've hit up, like, hey, bro, I'll be honest, you got a problem. But I said it in not that direct, but I was like, hey, bro, I've seen you go to, you know, I've seen you in that shop how many times, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Hey, and you're meant to be at work. What's your work? You know? Yeah. How come you're off early? Or, you know, all those sorts of things. And so one of the biggest things that I've done since our wānanga is actually be a bit more direct and be a bit more understanding too, because I'm like, as direct as I am, I'm still like, bro, I think we let me know if you need a kōrero, or if you know, if you want a hand.
Because sometimes that's all our whānau need, is just that moment to open up. Just that moment to be honest about where things are. And it's not about you being fixed immediately, But it's more so just about normalizing the challenges within the space that it is. And by no means are we experts or knowing like what we're talking about, but there's parts that we learnt, and there were experts there. They were sort of like supporting the kōrero. And I think one of the main things is how can we normalize the conversation about it? Because there are support services out there that can usher people, but in my own experience around bringing it up more is that the conversation is being had way more than it ever was. Just because of the mataora, and just because we were talking about it was like, far out. Actually, I'm not talking about this at all in spaces, but now I am. And I think that's the influence of just kōrero, is just trying to normalize it or bringing it up more, and, you know, supporting close friends of mine through the whole space is being super rewarding, just based on my own experience with the wānanga.
Because I think, what did we say? Kai roto te pauri, te maramatanga e whiti anei. And one of the biggest things we wanted to do was bring that to light, making it safe for people to actually come forward. And so I think for anyone listening out there, if you know anyone that's, that needs help or needs, and that they need a little bit of, they need some awhina, or they need some help, and they need us to get that help or help, have that conversation first, but also try and help them get that help so that they can, because some people don't actually realise how deep they are.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was one of the biggest things, or the scariest things, is that they don't even know that they are in a big hole.
Because we're hearing some extreme examples of, people that it wasn't just affecting their lives, it was, their partners, their wider whānau. And I think those harsh realities were sort of like, we were like, whoa, man, this is actually happening. And I think the scary part about it, not to sort of like make it dark and gloomy, but is that it's invisible in a sense.
It is,
like you can hide
this economic state too, like, where everything's like, cost of living crisis is just out the gate at the moment. And so, like, that $20 that you're trying to turn into a jackpot, people are doing it more frequently now because, and the stats are up because of the cost of living crisis at the moment.
And how hard it is now, But, for whānau who are sort of like listening to this and wanting to know more about it, there's Motu Ora, there's also Gambling Harm New Zealand online that has a bit of content that could be helpful for you. But just starting to talk about it, finding people who have your best interest at heart, and just going and having that kōrero tōkea.
I'm going to plug that now, even though it didn't land at the time. Even though it didn't land with the people, I want to say, that's our new slogan, tōkea.
And I think, a part of your role there was creating a tohu, and, I'll put that tohu on the screen now so you'll be able to see it. And I feel it was like really fitting, bro, what you were able to create, and it looks really great on a t-shirt and all of that. So big mihi to you for that, my brother. And so is there any kōrero that you might want to sort of like provide for the tohu?
Oh, that tohu, I think I drew it up while we were just having our wānanga. Like, we drew it like right there and then. And at the time I was thinking of, we were having this kōrero about, those that are involved. And at the time we were talking about creating safe spaces so that people can, open up. And so I thought of pare, which the pare sit at above the doorway, and the job of the pare is to whakanoa those people who walk through. And so the actual shape is pare, and then I did a pito whakarei, which is the figure right at the top in the middle, and those are more commonly sit at the front of waka. And the job of the pito whakarei is to watch out for everything or anything that comes, that's ahead of the waka. But it's also the leader, it's also the one that takes the first crash or the first wave, first hit. And so the whakaaro was that pito whakarei is, as a support person or someone, it's both the support person and the person going through it. So it's a sort of a dual take on that one.
Wow.
But it's about being, recognizing the, the importance of self-awareness, but also having that conversation with yourself, but also for, if you're the one being the kaitiaki or looking after this person, it's about making sure that they are in a safe space, or that they are in, a place where they can open up without being judged, without being, looked down upon, all those sorts of things. And so the design itself, you know, and there's two puoro on both sides, you know, and those puoro talk about iwi hapu, but also how it affects the wider whānau. But the rongoa, the solution is actually in that circle as well. Yeah, so it's in those puoro as well. It's in you know, having whānau there to support, having people that are there, friends, close friends there to support. But you see puoro and it goes up and it goes down, you know, and the hidden kōrero in that is that, you know, it talks about the tides and, you know, the tides that come in, the tides that go out.
The ups and downs.
The ups and downs of life, you know, and shit happens, but hey, just
keep going.
Talk.
Just talk. Man, bro, that's awesome. You know, we've been on a beautiful kōrero, bro, and you're just such an exceptional human being, my bro. Like, man, you're just so gifted, and you can do so many different things, bro. And so I think kia whakakapi e nei kōrero, bro, you know, one of the things that I think stand out to me is there's a lot of skill, but there's also a lot of free expression in whatever makes you happy, you know, like kaihaka makes you happy, te reo Māori makes you happy, moko makes you happy, your whānau make you happy. Like, there's a big variety of what sets your heart on fire, and you're doing that, and you're doing it at such a high level. And how can our whānau or our listeners, I guess, get in touch with that more? You know, because I feel it's so deeply connected to us having an extraordinary life, is having that sense of purpose, or knowing what we like and doing it without fear, or doing it at a high level. So, you know, kia whakakapi e nei kōrero, bro, I'll just give you a huge question.
That's a podcast in itself.
Just around how, you know, those of us who are or those who are listening, how can they sort of like connect more to that aspect of themselves?
Someone asked me last week, bro, they asked me, how come you get to go on all the trips? Like, and it wasn't in a disingenuous way. It was just like, how come you get to go on all the trips? And I sat and I thought about it for a little while, and I said, my skill base. I got skills. That's what I said. And it wasn't in a whakahihi way. I just said, I've got skills. And they said, nice. How did you learn those skills? And I said, I honed them. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, everything that I've ever given a go, I've given it a really good go. And so what I was trying to say to them was that we've all got the same minutes, hours in a day, but it's how you use that time, you know, that time that we have in a day, what energy you give to what, that sort of helps you along the way. And so for me, what I was getting at was that I've used a lot of time and I've used a lot of energy to hone a lot of the skills that I've been fortunate enough to, and I didn't start off good, or I didn't start off.
Was there moments where you were just like, I don't even know what the hell I'm up to, or like?
A lot of the time it is about guessing, or it is about going through that stage of uncertainty, stage of unawareness, that stage of learning. And that's why I always say I love learning. And then because you get to a point where you realize, and it's all in the learning too, you get to a point where you realize, I can do this. I can overcome this. That's easy. Is that how you say that? Is that the Māori word for this? Is that how you get that up there? Is that how you get that faster? You know, there's always those things, like no matter what, like taiha or tirako, chichitoria. Is that how you throw it properly? Is that how you wrap the stick around? And you're finding little ways to, how do I intrigue the crowd? So is that how you make that joke land? You know? Is that how you say it? Okay. And learning all these new skills, and you want to fail. Like I failed so many times, but it's about learning from your failures and doing it again, giving it another go, making it sound better, working on it, working on your craft. You know, getting that koru to come around a little bit further, getting it around, you know, all those sorts of things, holding a line longer, realizing that the gear that you have, it's the gear that you have, or the tools that you use, are only extensions of your own whakaaro, your own hands, your own, you know, whatever you're using. Those are only extensions of whatever you're using. That's your whakaaro, it's your mind that controls. You know, you can never blame the machine. I always say that. Never blame the tools, because the tools don't do the job. It's what
it's the person who's using them.
It's what your what the user's telling or tinana, or telling the rest of telling the tools what to do. Yeah, so that's always my number one kōrero is the skills that you have, or the skills that you can always learn a new skill. You got 24 hours in a day,
just like everyone else.
7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, 365 days. Oh, on a leap year, there's an extra one. So.
Wow.
So you got a lot of time to, you can learn a lot in that time, and don't waste it, because every day is a gift, I suppose.
Thank you so much for that, Jim, my bro, and I really do take it on board personally, but I feel those who are listening will take that on too, because as we start to grow and develop or hone skills, we sometimes just want to get to where we want to be way faster than we need to, or way faster than it actually comes. And so when you're first starting out, you can't expect to be at step 10 when you haven't even gone through step 1 and 2. And so the learning aspect is going to step 1, fail at step 1, then you learn that, then you go to step 2, then you fail at that, then you might go to step 3, so it's always in the constant progress and learning from the failures that actually get you up a level. And then at some point along the line, you can make a couple of leaps. You go from step 5 to step 8 all of a sudden, so there's ways that things come into fruition the more consistent you are at just showing up and doing the do. And I think for you, bro, is just really great example of someone who's been able to fulfill a lot of aspects, but while remaining grounded because of who you are as a person, and leaning on your upbringing, on your kaumātua, on your reo Māori, on your ahurea Māori, and everything else that encapsulates that. So from myself and from the Planting Seeds podcast, bro, tēnei ka mihi atu kia koe, and thank you just for being you, my brother. Ni te aroha. Che.
Tēnā koutou.
Boots. That's us, bro.
Sure.
Fuck.